last video, my brother and I cut the tenons for the uprights on the frame of the front of the roof, basically building a square piece of wood inside a round piece. We raised the frames up and squared them as good as we could roughly. Now it's time to put on the cap. What Matt's doing right now is he is going all around the perimeter of the mortise and then cutting a sharp line so that when we start using rotating tools like drill bits, it doesn't just blow out the sides of the hole and make a mess. So if we can get down in 1/4 of an inch or down to the bevel of the chisel all the way around, that'll leave a clean hole. If it's a little bit dirty inside, it doesn't matter, nobody's going to see that. But what I don't want to do is have a messed up hole, and also having that helps us to set the corners of those square auger bits to make sure they're perfectly in the corner and perfectly 90 degrees. So that should help a lot. So he's going to check that right now to see how much it goes down in there. Remember that we can't have it, it's got to be parallel. It's got to be straight up and down.
The log needs to be rotated a little bit.
But is it enough for that to catch, or should we go down a little more?
Oh no, I think it's good.
Okay. So I'm going to put this in time lapse, and then we'll get to getting these things cleared out. So here we are. We have our mortices. You see they're centered as well as we could do them with this splintery pine. They will get cleaned up. We have to cut shelves, but we're going to wait until we have the actual dimensions of the logs, and then we'll cut the shelves to be the exact size of the log. So we've got this one, which will be our maple peg, and this one over here is going to be the ash. You see they're roughly in line with each other. And so, yeah, that's it. Mortise is cut. They're 1.5 inches by 3 inches. The tenons are bigger than that. They're slightly oversized by design so that we can now clean them up and fit them exactly to the holes. So we're going to do that. I also need to get my Forstner bit and blow through 2 holes through the sides of these mortises to accept the maple pins that'll hold this whole thing together. Can you get it in sideways now? Almost. Moving the whole fucking frame. Yeah, come on. Yeah, that's the way. And now let me get this in. Let's go. Jesus. We can't fuck around with that hole. We gotta take it off of this. That hole is, let's look here and see where it looks like it's catching. Right. Well, it's definitely getting wider, right, when you look down on it. All right. That's landed. How much of a shelf do you want to put on? All right.
Well, this side of the shelf is hitting.
Alright, we're gonna have to pin one side. Actually, no, this isn't that good.
Yeah. It's at 290 on 5 centimeter tall. That got me 3. We should just wait to pin it until we stand it up, and then it'll stretch it.
It's got to be fairly close though, because the top pins are gonna vary based on. Sit on that log.
They're tight. I think like they're just gonna stretch when we get them in.
I'm gonna put the bottom pin in. Do the bottom pin on each side, and then put it in.
Still gonna make pins, yeah. Can you measure it roughly to the bottom and see? That side. 5 inches.
Basher, or do you use a green?
It just happened to be what was closest. I just want to see how easily we can get it up there.
When assembled, this bent weighed several hundred pounds, and moving it from where we were assembling it to where it needed to be stood up involved us navigating around a tree and the awning and several other things that were in the way.
We positioned the logs properly.
No easy task after a long day of assembly and a heat index of 105 degrees.
Because we should be able to, you want to do it in here where it's exposed, or do you want to stand it up like this and screw it
I don't want to split the
into,
logs.
okay.
I don't give a shit if there's a hole.
Yeah, we're not going to see it,
You
particularly if
lap
you
on
put
your
it,
side or not?
pardon? I'm at the middle.
This is good.
That's good, actually. Yep. I thought so too, but this is what I think. What if I just pick this end up and you roll that side? We'll find out.
You can come to me a little bit.
I can come to you all the way up to here. That side's lighter, so I won't be here. That side is a lot lighter. Go.
That pin's gonna catch.
Yeah, we're gonna stop. Yeah.
You want me to get on that side and we can try and ease
No,
it
I
around
can
this?
stand it. Maybe. Nah, I gotta come down. Or I gotta go up and get past this tree. Shit. But now,
You know what? I'll grab this end, you grab that end. Let's just walk it.
Well, we gotta get the cart out of the way.
I know, Calvin. I'm sorry, buddy. Weird. Lots of stuff going on.
The better idea is to just put the cart in there.
Matt's plan to use the garden cart as a third set of hands worked really well. In the effort to get the front bent placed and upright, I was unable to record the video. Suffice it to say that we got the front bent on and braced with temporary bracing to the rest of the kitchen the weekend Matt was there. In the weeks that followed, my friend Jeff would visit and bring down a truckload of 2x4s, structural wood that I could use to make the rafters for the roofing. I don't record all of the build that I do, especially when I'm hanging out with friends that I have not seen in a long time. So we got the roof rafters on. I notched them into the front of the top bar on the vent at the front of the kitchen. I secured them with strong tie galvanized roofing braces at the back of the kitchen and ensured that they were evenly spaced 16 inches on center, able to support the snow load. Around the back of the roof structure, you can see I'm using hurricane tie downs. We don't get hurricanes in upstate New York. Hurricane Debbie last year was an outlier, and it was basically just brushing the edges of the storm. There's a lot of rain, but not a lot of uplifting wind. But you can see I used these strong tie hurricane strapping. I do have a couple more nails to put in, but the downside is the bird's mouth, because it's a 5/12 pitch. The bird's mouth on these structural members is fairly deep. It's like 1.25 inches on a 3.5 inch 2x4. So I didn't want to get too close to the corners of that bird's mouth and split it out. So I put a single on each side. You can see here a single nail on each side, 3 nails along the bottom. This is more than enough structural support for what I need here. And then, as you saw before, I notched out the vertical members, or the roofing members in the front. You can get a better view of that here. See if I can zoom in. So you can get a better view how those are inset in, and then they're toe screwed with structural screws from each side of that notch. So this is, I've hung off of this. I weigh 200 pounds. I've hung off of one of these roofing members, and I was supported with no problem. But you can see how much more just presence the roof has. So I'm going to try and augment the grain of that tree over there, and you'll see I did it here already. It's a combination of torch and then sanding back, and then we're going to hit everything with a coat of tung oil. So I'll show you a little bit of the torch work now as I do that one, and then I'll come back to show you the finished product. I don't need to go through all of the steps. You've seen most of the necessary steps before when I was doing the poles for the awning on the tent. So if you haven't watched that video, go back and watch that, and it'll give you a pretty good idea of what I'm going to do here. The next step in the process was to show Suzan the logs for the uprights and the cross piece. For the uprights, the purpose was twofold: to better protect the bottom of the log where it came in contact with the concrete block, and to provide a nicer aesthetic. I like the idea of the darkness creeping up from the ground and gradually becoming light. And I would continue that aesthetic on the cross piece. The back side of the hill, because I will have some flame lapping back around the log, and I don't want to start my hill on fire. So I'm going to wet that down with just some water to start with. I'm going to have a bucket of water handy, because when I did the maple, I noticed that, especially in the cracks and stuff, it got in and we started to have some flame, which is fine. That actually fire hardens the wood and makes it more resistant to weather. But I don't want to start a fire inside one of my main pillars here and weaken the structure. So I'm going to have water available to quench any fire that does come up.
And I'm going to do this in as safe a manner as is possible using a giant torch where there's a bunch of dried leaves. So here we go. So I have this post burned and sanded. I burned the cross piece starting at the center. It's not exactly even on both sides, but it's close enough. Again, that'll be under roof, so you'll see it, but you're not going to notice it like you do these structural supports. And so now I'm going to take this, which looks good. You get the dark at the bottom, and then it gradually graduates into the light up here. And I'm going to throw some tung oil on it, which is going to make this pop. All right, so I used tung oil on this one. You can see how much more rich it looks and less flat. Gives it more depth, and also across the center. And then I started to run out of tung oil. So what's the best waterproofing material that you can use on wood? Whatever you have. It's better than no waterproofing material. So I had just a dribble of tung oil, which I put in there. And then I have Thompson's water seal that I bought to clear coat the cherry in the outhouse. And so that mixed with the last little bit of tung oil is going to be what I finish this up with. I'm trying to coat the ends and the tops of each of these supporting members, just because that's the most exposure they're going to get. The stuff in the field is going to be covered by the metal, and I'm not worried about that. It's just the end grain that is possible potential for soaking up water. So I'm going to coat those. I'm going to get the rest of this cross member and the tops of the posts. That most of the posts again are done in tung oil, but the very tops I couldn't reach and I ran out of tung oil. So we're going to use a little bit of tung oil and a lot of Thompson's water seal. It will be up underneath the roof structure, so it will be less likely to get weather. And so I think this is going to be fine, and it's better than not putting anything on there at all. I'll come back when I get it done and you can see the total package. Okay, so this is, it's a little messy still. This is Kitchen Roof 2.0. You can see I've got a coat of oil applied. I did seal the ends of all of the 2x that I'm using for roofing material, and because they might get exposed to weather. And I think it looks great. Like, I stretched the tarp up, I cleaned up a little bit. So this is how it's going to live until I have an opportunity to go and get the metal roofing. As I told you before, I've got some steel roof. Let's see if I can zoom out. Some steel roof that is up the hill on the spring. But I will be finishing this up later. This is a good enough version. It is way sturdier than the version that I had before. I do have to finish up the wind braces. I've got the temporary one here. I've taken the temporary one off over here. But I do have a pole selected that I'm going to use. Right here, it's ash. I have another one that's similar sized. So those will get inset into these upright posts and then bolted through, and then the bolt will be covered with a maple plug or an oak plug. As I add the wind braces, as I add the roofing material, it'll stiffen this whole structure up, and this will just be solid. I have no concerns about snow load or any kind of issues with this thing surviving out here. And as you can see, it dramatically increases the size of the kitchen area that's under roof, which is just great. So I started the cut with a circular saw, and then I finish it with a Japanese pull saw. More accurate, it gives you a final kerf, which is the gap left by the saw, but it helps to finish up these areas where you just couldn't get the circular saw down in. Should be wearing a glove on that hand, left hand, so that I don't accidentally cut myself, but here we are. Getting it to balance is difficult. I'm trying to put pressure on the bottom of it to hold it steady. I'm trying to make sure the saw is going straight through the cut and not digging out where it shouldn't be. And this is the shorter line. The longer line, as you can see, is over here. So I pare down close to that, and then I'm going to tip the saw. I'm actually going to put the finer tooth in because it'll go through faster. So now I'm going to try and tilt the saw down to get that angle. I have to try and keep an eye on both sides of the wood so that when I get close I don't overshoot and split the wood. A lot of hard work, and it's humid and muggy, and it's going to start raining again. I always want to rush it, and the trick really with any of these saws is just to move it back and forth and let the saw do the work. But you have to really be patient in order for that to happen. So, and I am not known as a patient person. But when it gets close, I'll feel it release. Or I should, if my stop cut on the back is completely all the way through, which I'm going to check right now. So this cross grain cut is what I call stop cut. I think that's what the industry term is, but I'm just going to make sure that that's down at least to the level of where I want it to be, and it is. So now it's just a little tiny finesse to get the last little bit of wood out at the bottom of that cut. And this should pop right off when that happens. I hear it starting to release. Just a couple more wood fibers there. Definitely passed. And that's why you gotta be careful. Super easy, not paying attention 1 second. There it goes. Right. So there's my wind brace. You can see again this curved piece where on the shorter cut the blade doesn't go all the way in. Don't have that on the longer cut because you can get more of the blade in. So I brought out the big guns. This is a Robert Sorby timber framing chisel. This is designed generally for mortices. You can see I've got a little work to do on sanding a little bit of the rust off the back of it and oiling it again so that it doesn't rust like that. That's literally fingerprints from working on the timber frame structure we did. Anyway, the edge of this again is super sharp, hard steel. This thing is amazing. It's just a workhorse, and you can do what's called paring to get these little edges down. Now I've got I don't know if you can see that, but I've got a clamp holding my wood there to give me some support, and now I can focus on just using this to clean up this edge here. And you can see how sharp an edge it holds. Again, this is ash, not the hardest of hardwoods, but it's not a slouch. And it just cuts through it like butter. And actually that's it, it's clean. It's cleaned up there. So you can either do a stop cut or you can just wipe it off like that. That's pretty, a little bit of a rock there, so I'm just going to clean up the centerpiece a little more. The risk with a sharp chisel like this is to take too much off. So you got to be cautious that you don't miss your mark. That's pretty good. You can use the back of the chisel. Now you can see I've got a little bit of a high spot still right here. Use the back of the chisel as basically a flat surface, so you can lay it and then just run it along, and now that's actually pretty good. And I'm trying to rock it, but I'm not getting any, except right here at the end, just the tiniest bit of rock right there where there's a high spot. So the chisel serves a couple of purposes. There we go. But it does a great job of cleaning that up. Now this thing needs to be sanded. I've already done one of the ledges on the side over here. I'll bring this up. So it's not much of a ledge, but again, I'm going to have a giant leg screw going through that to hold it in. So it will have plenty of beef. And it's just to keep the structure from racking. Even without a wind brace, you can see the amount that that pole moves off vertical is minimal, and it always snaps right back. So it's really, I'm not going to say it's unnecessary, but it doesn't need to be as beefy as possible. I could have left these little supports, cleaned them up, and just left those little things pinned on, but I just like the look of the logs being married together in some organic fashion. So I'm going to continue. I've got to mark my notch up there that the other end of the wind brace is going to go into, and chisel that out, which I just used a side cutter or a multi-tool. I made the mistake of cutting, I wanted the wider part of this wind brace to be down here. I made the mistake of laying it out, and I forgot about that. I can't see what I'm doing, so now I gotta move around. This is the problem with working by yourself. Everything's twice as long. My friend Jaws and I were able to throw up the roof here in a day. My brother Matt and I were able to build all the rest of the structure in a weekend. But working on it at it by myself is just, it's just brutal. Nobody to help you, hand you tools, help you through the process. That looks like I've got a little more work to do here. So this bottom, not nearly the right width. It's off by 1/4 of an inch. So now I got to start the process all over again. So I'm going to turn this off so you guys don't have to watch that. Okay guys, hello. I skipped a few steps. Didn't skip the steps, I did the steps, I just didn't record them because it's a lot of work working here by myself. I did wind up getting these pretty well inset into both the logs. You can see there's a little ledge that it's sitting on, and then a solid bolt that I countersunk. I'm going to put either a maple or an oak plug into there, also up there as well, and that'll cover those up. This is a solid connection. Having it in that socket and then having that single lag bolt there is actually perfect. I don't need to add anything else to that, which is nice because that'll give me a nice clean finish. I did char the top of it to try and match the char on the cross piece, and then I gradually faded it out. I need to sand that back a little bit. I haven't sanded it yet, I just charred it. It also helps to, like, I didn't get that pocket up there exactly right, so charring it tends to darken it. I'll show you from the other side. Tends to darken it. When it was not charred, it was a big white piece of wood that was standing out against the dark up there. So it does help to hide a little bit the flaws, but there is plenty of connecting wood there. Like I said, I didn't even really need the wind brace. It was super strong and did not rack without it, but with it, it's rock solid. So is it perfect? No. I'm happy for my first like full roundwood timber frame joint. Other than the mortise and tenon joints, those were actually simple compared to this, especially since I was working on the ground and not like on a ladder with a chisel and saws and stuff. It was just kind of a pain. So I'm not looking forward to doing the other one, which is over there. It's up against the hill, which means my ladder footing is not even very good. And I don't have any help here for a while. So I'm going to grab some lunch and then possibly work on that one. And I'll let you guys know. Haven't skipped a few steps, but just omitted a few steps. Just because I was working by myself and I needed to get this stuff done. So what we have now is the front frame complete. I burned the logs at the bottom. I've got hooks up there for my solar lanterns, right like up in midpoint there. This has been my temporary roof for a while. Let me reposition this. Sorry. My temporary roof for a while. This is the old tarp that was used. As you can see, the roof joists are in. They're secured at both ends into notches up here and leveled. I've got roof purlins cut somewhere here. And this is just from, some of it is from the 2x material that my friend Jeff brought me to put the roof structure on, and some of it is homemade, just 1x material that I had left over from last year that I had kicking around. And then the roofing material is actually from my spring that was up the hill that is not really used. It's muddy. It's going to have to be torn down, but this is in really, really good shape. This should be enough metal roofing to cover the entire roof. So the purlins go up first, and then the metal roofing goes on top of the purlins. I've got my brother Matt here helping me on his birthday. Thank you, Matt, very much for the help. And we're going to get started.
My time during the summer of 2025 at my off-grid property was full of projects like these drawers for the kitchen. Small projects that I could accomplish in a weekend or a week to keep me motivated and moving forward. I built a small table for my fire pit using the cut end of the aspen tree that I needed to take down to improve my satellite signal. I rough sanded the table and shaped it using a grinder with a flap wheel, then moved on to grits of sandpaper up to 220 and finished with oil and polyurethane until I got a smooth, clean surface that shines. This table provides a useful resting place for a beer by a hot fire on a cool night and brings me so much joy. Thank you again, as always, for watching this video, because I can't tell you how enjoyable it is to read your comments and see the people that tune in to view these videos. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment. I really like answering those, and it helps me out with the algorithm, which has been brutal lately and not really pushing my videos. So anything you can do to help me would be great. Once again, thanks for watching and welcome back.